So this is a movie that Disney really wanted to just put on Disney Plus, but after a lot of positive reviews, has now given it a theatrical release.
Yeah, it came after Amazon MGM had positive reviews for their film The Boys in the Boat last December, and decided to put that in theaters for a while. That was a movie I wasn't as big on. Wonder how I feel about this one.
All right, so apparently get in the water because you get positive reviews. Let's talk about it. Young Woman in the Sea.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick for the St. Paul Filmcast. You found us. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Another week can support the show. Do you have a Patreon?
I think we have a Patreon.
Yeah, we have a Patreon. Check it out for some great deals, great content, and, of course, an opportunity to tell us what movies we could review in the future and in future episodes. But, of course, a shout-out to you as well. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. And we're from Minnesota, so we swim in lakes. We don't swim in seas. So what the hell's going on?
I have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Trudy Ederle is the daughter of a German butcher who began swimming to prove she could accomplish anything, eventually leading to her 1920s attempt to be the first woman to swim the English Channel.
Okay, so in the 90s, and if you saw anything produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, you were going to get into something...
It was usually more explosions for that time.
Yeah, usually, boom, Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer in the Thunders and everything, even in his promo.
There's explosions on the tree.
So, and that's kind of like with me, it's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, and with Disney, I think we're going to get something credible, at least something something really a solid performance.
Yeah, when he's got his name attached to something, it does lend a certain level of... I don't know, gravitas might be the wrong word, because he also did do a couple of Michael Bay crap shoots, but they were at least, good at what they were supposed to be doing.
They got a charge to them. Right. So I know when Jerry and Disney are going to get together, we're going to have some kind of product. Jerry bought the rights for this, and I think he went to Paramount first.
Yeah, they had Lily James attached as the lead. Another actress I really like, so I would have been interested in that too.
And I just don't know what happened with there. And then, of course, Disney wants to do it, and Disney likes to do these inspirational true stories. So I think it was kind of a healthy kind of a merge.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm really proud of Disney because they have been so risk averse, especially recently. Even up until a few years ago, I remember that whole issue about not making a Tron 3 because
I guess
they knew, which we are getting directed by this director.
Directed by this guy.
Unintentional mention, but. They, for so many years, they were like, if it's not $1 billion movie, we're not going to pursue a sequel. We're not going to pursue these smaller films because we only have so many slots and we got to make big bank. Have them falter for a couple years, and they're going to start thinking, what do we do? And I think this is one of those movies. I'm so happy it was in a theater because I feel like this movie might get buried on Disney Plus. We had a number of films that got removed from Disney Plus last year.
I'm glad it's getting in the theaters and not being buried on the streaming service. I absolutely agree. Before we get to kind of the review and kind of what we saw about the movie, I want to give a shout out to cinematographer. Is actually the same one Alex Garland uses. So, it's Oscar Farna. He just did Civil War. He's Ex Machina, Annihilation, and here he does the cinematography for this movie. And I was wondering, this is really, even though we expect a lot good from Disney, it is wonderfully shot. And I was like, of course, it's Alex Garland's guy.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of depth to the scene, but what I think is so interesting about how this film is shot versus, say, Alex Garland's movies is that this one does almost feel like you're staring at the time period. It feels almost painted. There's a certain shade to the movie that makes it kind of look watercolory.
There's a certain kind of a gloss to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, healthy gloss to it. Okay, I'll just say right now, it really was captivating. I was enthralled with this.
Oh, yeah.
I was wholly invested with this, knowing what was the end result.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how nervous I was going into it because I had just, in the past couple months watched Naiad, which is another movie about a long-distance swim going on that has jellyfish, that has all these things in it, and I really like Naiad. So I was like, I hope this isn't going to be like... There's always the two. There's the great one and then the not-so-great one. This one was pretty solid as well, though.
Yeah, and eventually it's hard to make a movie when we know the ending, it's based on a true story, you know the outcome. And you get that sense of like, how is she going to navigate out of this? Even though you know the ending, and that's powerful stuff. I do like at the beginning that you have this kind of thread of this song that's being played. I just like this person who wasn't the accomplished swimmer, until she kind of grew into being comfortable being a good singer.
Yeah, and
swimmer.
she's a person I don't know much about on the
No, I
outside.
don't-
I've never
yeah,
read
yeah.
the book. I had heard about a woman that swam the English Channel. Like, I heard about these elements, but I didn't really put it together. So even at the beginning of the film, when one of the kids has, the illness, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, which one's actually our character? I wasn't even entirely sure which one I was supposed to be,
right, yeah.
paying attention to in that way. So it's nice for people that don't know it. It felt like a pretty understandable amount of information being given, and for those of people like I knew a little bit more about this because of watching Naiad, because of watching how that is broken
alright.
down. It was nice to kind of not have that be boring after seeing it twice in a row.
So, no, I'm just going to say right now, I think there's this component thread, this metaphor of why this person loves to swim out in the open. It feels like an escape for her when everything seems endless trap of a confinement of being already a female, being in the class she's in, and already have the strike against her having measles when they don't want her to be in part of the swimming because it's going to make you cause death.
Yeah.
So you have these three adverse where she assigns swimming out as an escape route, almost as freedom,
Yeah.
no matter how dangerous it is.
Yeah, it's that one portion where no one's really telling her what to do. I mean, of course, she is listening to people around her that are supporting her, but at the same time, no one else is forcing her hand. It's an area where she gets to do what she wants to do. And I also feel there's a certain sense of, you say I can't, so I will.
Yes.
Because, again, early on in the film, the measles scene, they said she's not going to last the night. She lasts longer than the doctor does. She gets downstairs and asks for some cheeses, which is what I would
Classic cheese. Right.
So I think there's a certain element to her that is very much, don't put me in that box. Don't put me in a place and tell me what the rules are. I make the rules. And I respect that.
And especially for something like you attempting to do the English Channel, swim that, it seems trivial, but you get sponsorship and you get a whole lot of support from other people, but it's not trivial in regards to her because it is an avenue, a way of her identity. This is how she shines, as well as another escape out of what she's already been against.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the first half of the film, shockingly, worked for me more than the second half.
Shocking.
Because
Right,
it was about getting to the place where she could swim. More so than about getting to the swimming part. It was about the adversities that got her where she needed to be, even as far as going to that place where they're toasting the guy who died doing the swim, and then this male swimmer just chooses her as a target and eventually ends up respecting her because she doesn't give in to it. I thought the first half of the film worked wonderfully. I still like the second half quite a bit. I felt like Trudy's hero's journey in the swim wasn't dived into a little bit more than I felt it could have been. Because we're seeing a lot of what's going on, the people around her. But she didn't seem like she was that affected by the swim during those times. I would have liked to have dived into her head a little bit more and see what she's thinking while she's out there alone for hours on end.
And it's hard to do when you have a great supporting cast and you have to spend time with them, because whoever's playing her sister was wonderfully played. The parents that are people that play her parents. You have an ex-Doctor Who is playing a marvelous villain in this.
Christopher Eccleston is really good at playing villains. I mean, I know people out there hate the G.I. Joe movie that he was in, and it's a bad movie. He's pretty damn good in it.
I mean, he was great in Dark World as a villain with all the makeup on.
He tends to pick bad movies to be great villains in. Thankfully, he's a good villain in a good movie this time around.
And he's of course the villain in this, but he plays it so stupidly, which is of course villainy is part mixture of stupid.
Yeah, no one. He doesn't seem like the type of person who's really thinking about the outcome of his actions because he's never been put in a place to have to consider them.
Right. And Daisy playing this. All right. This is kind of, she's been stapled with these franchise movies, and she's been kind of branching out risks with a lot of these accomplished performances. She does really fantastic with this.
Oh yeah.
She plays it almost like this person, in real life person, Trudy was socially awkward. Mm-hmm. And she does it wonderfully, where she doesn't overplay it, but she doesn't underplay it too. It was the right balance for this.
I think so. Yeah, she's convincing as an awkward human being, which I don't know if I would buy that from her.
Right. How are you, Daisy? How are you awkward?
Yeah,
right.
But you're right. Outside of Star Wars, I really only have experience watching her she was in the Murder on the Orient Express.
And then she did, I think, film. Ophelia, if I remember.
Yeah, she did Ophelia. Yeah. She did Chaos Walking, and recently The Marsh King's Daughter. But my really dive in is mostly Star Wars related to her. So it's nice to see her doing something else. I don't want actors to be slung to one character their whole life. I don't want them to be pigeonholed in that way. And so when I was finding out she was coming back for another Star Wars movie, I was excited to see her again. Yeah. But I kind of want to see more of this stuff as well. I want both.
Of course, accolades. This is going to be a big thumbs up for me. I don't know if at the end of the year it might get something production-wise, production set design or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised about like a special effects nod almost, just because it's
Maybe
a
a
smaller
notch to
film
that,
that kind of
right.
can slide through that. I don't. To be honest, I think this is a movie that unfortunately I'm so happy it's going to be in the theater. I don't think we're going to be seeing this movie on a lot of discussion near the end of the year.
No, maybe one or two little heads up. That's most, but
Yeah.
maybe for production design or something like that.
The film is good. It's not mind-blowing. I think that if you enjoyed Naiad on Netflix, I think this would be a good companion piece. It's almost like the long-distance swimmer cinematic universe.
And
But-
if you love conflicts, this woman has to fight her siblings, her class structure, her environment. She has to fight everything, including nature, to accomplish what her goals.
Yeah. But I think, one thing that came up, and this has come up in other reviews of the film, so I'm paraphrasing as well, but a lot of people come to say they don't make movies like they used to. This movie feels like it was made like they used to. It feels kind of almost like it could have been filmed in the 90s. With just actors that
It
we
does
happen to
feel
know
like
now.
that,
It's traditional. It doesn't really do anything that goes out and around to surprise you, but it doesn't need to. The story is pretty straightforward.
Right. It always recognizes that we don't have to take the risks of being dangerous with this. It's a really tight script, and we don't have to do anything much else to it, right?
Yeah. So you get some solid actors, you get some solid cinematography, music, and put them all together. You have a consistently enjoyable package that is exciting, that is entertaining, and makes me want to see Tron 3 more because now I've seen a few movies from this director.
If Rennie can do this kind of structured and has a tight script, I'm looking forward to the third one.
Yeah, because I
the third
feel like
Tron movie.
I feel like his Pirates movie that he directed was a step up from the previous one. It was still dealing with an alcoholic actor that wasn't showing up to set. Who
could that be?
Yeah, his Maleficent sequel, again, not being tremendous, was a step up from the previous one. So I think he's showcased that he is able to take care of, do solid directing work, working with Disney. This is his third bout of that. We're going to see it again in a year. I think that really excites me for where this director is going to go next.
Yeah. So hopefully you get an opportunity to see it. If you have, please add a comment. Keep the conversation going with this movie.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. You can check out all my film reviews
Where?
over at goatfilmreviews.com.
Oh my gosh. I haven't been on that website in ages.
Wait, hey, now.
Yeah, maybe a couple months. I've got to go back and check and see what you have been saying. So you can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts, and you're not going to find me out in the sea.
No, can't swim.
Maybe the lake.